I got healthy, got wealthy, and even got wise. That sweet Kangen water open up my eyes, satisfying for the body, gratifying for the mind. Kangen water for the rest of my life. Kangen water quenches your thirst. Kangen water feeds your soul. Kangen water inspiring your dreams. Kangen water for the rest of my life. Let's unify with Chi spirit. Kangen water will set you free. Let's unify with Chi spirit. Kangen water will set you free. Let's unify with Chi spirit. Let's follow Mr. O philosophy. Look within 'cause you wanna win. Join the Kangen Nation. Kangen Nation, we're everywhere. All around the world, water we share. Changing one life at a time. With compassion for mankind. Well, I love you so you gotta know. Hope you don't mind me preaching.
Hey, sisters and brothers, I have a new sponsor, my friends Gary and Marilou from alkalinewatersogood.com. They are international Kangen water distributors. Kangen water is delicious water created from Enagic's innovative water technology. Enagic is a 56-year-old Japanese company with 40 offices in 23 countries, including an office in Manila and 8 offices in the U.S., and it is the leading manufacturer of alkaline ionizers and water filtration machines in the world. Not only do these devices filter your tap water, but they also produce ionized alkaline and acidic waters through electrolysis. These waters can be used for various purposes, including drinking, cooking, beauty, and cleaning. Can you imagine never buying bottled water again? The plastic in bottled water often contains BPA and other chemicals which are proven to be hazardous to your health. And how much fun is it lugging cases of it from the market, recycling it, and you know, plastic is an environmental nightmare. According to Gary, it's also a great way to add an additional income stream. He's been selling machines for over 12 years internationally, and everyone needs the healthiest water in the world. So folks, if you have any questions about Kangen water, check out their website at alkalinewatersogood.com. That's alkalinewatersogood.com. Or you can email them at gary@garyballin.com.
You're listening to the Wolf's Den Radio Show. Talk.
Hello, sisters and brothers. This is another episode of WDRS Talk, the Wolf's Den Radio Show Talk. Thank you very much for joining me. This is your host and your friend and your brother from another mother, Wolf Femora, on the radio right here on your speakers. Thank you very much for supporting this show by listening, and I really, really appreciate it. It is episode 22. All right, we are on a roll, and this episode is going to be a very special interview. Not that the other interviews in the past were special, but this one is kind of a little hot sauce on it, you know. And it also happens to be my first female guest, and it is definitely not going to be the last female guest I'm going to have on this show. And I am talking about Miss Jean Millington, the guitarist and lead singer of the first all-female rock band in the United States to record major label albums. I'm going to explain that to you in a bit, but before that, let's get through some business. Thank you very much for Gary Ballin and Marilu, Mama Lou, for their sponsorship with Kangen Water. I really, really appreciate it. Please do check out Kangen Water. There is an office in the Philippines, in Manila, and like you said in the ad, there are offices here in the States, and it's great water. It's a water filtration system, and it ionizes your water, man. Makes your water really fresh, really clean, and man, it's really good. So check them out. And I just want to invite everybody to please subscribe to the channels that you are listening to this on. Subscription always matters because analytics, in the internet these days, it's all about analytics and numbers. So the more subscriptions I have, the more subscribers, the more it's better for me, and you're helping out the show. So if you're listening to this on YouTube, please be a kind person and subscribe to the channel. You will get fresh episodes as soon as they get out of the oven. And if you're listening on Spotify, give it a follow, as well as Apple Podcasts and Anchor FM. And if you want to go a step further to support the show, you can actually make a donation to the show. And I'm not talking about clothes or shoes. I'm talking about actual moolah. And that's a great way of supporting this show, because all that money goes to the production of the show, the maintenance of the equipment, and if I need new equipment, new microphones or cords or whatever, then I have a stash to get from. And you can definitely make a donation on the Anchor FM, either the website or the app. On this post, you'll see a couple of links to YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Anchor. So go to the Anchor link, and you will, I think you can find a support button or a donate button, and just do that. And you can, any kind of donation helps. Doesn't have to be $100. It can be $10. I'd appreciate the both values nonetheless. And when you do that, please leave your name and address wherever you are, and I will send you a brand new sticker of WDRS, the Wolf's Den Radio Show. And it's going to be the black logo that you see. And if you do make a donation, I'll send you one right away. So check it out on Anchor FM, Anchor.fm, or the Anchor app. And all right, so that's it. Please give us a follow on YouTube. And I really appreciate everybody's support. And I love you guys. So anyway, going back to our subject of the day, our Muy Caliente episode, Miss Jean Millington, lead guitarist and lead singer, and also one of the songwriters of a band called Fanny, Fanny. And these guys I discovered them only last year through a friend, Perf De Castro, the guitarist. He posted it on, I think either he posted it or he texted it to me, a video of it. And it's a live performance of them in Europe. I think it was in Sweden or some Nordic country. And you can obviously see that Jean Millington was a Filipina, and it's like, who is this? Who is Fanny, and how do I not know about them? Because I am a music nerd and I have to know about this, because they came out in the early 1970s, 70 to 74 or 75, I think. They have 4 albums available on Spotify. And, that era of rock and roll is my favorite era. So I was very surprised that I did not know that this band existed. It was never on my radar. It was never on my radar until last year. So I wanted to thank Perf for referring me to them, because I am a huge fan now of Fanny. Yeah, I am a fan of Fanny. And you guys, I'm going to play you a song. I think their most popular song, before the interview, before I played the interview, and you'll see how good they are. you know, and especially June and her sister, Jean Millington, who is the bassist also. Who is the bassist and also a vocalist, one of the vocalists in the band. And so it's June and Jean Millington. They were born and raised in Manila. Their father was obviously American with the name like Millington. That's a very American name. He was a serviceman that was probably in the Philippines during World War II, or maybe World War II. And he met their mother over there, and that's how they came to be. Their dad is American, and their mom is Filipina, and they came to the States in the early '60s, and I think they were maybe in their early teens or pre-teens. So basically, they did grow up a bit in the Philippines, but they mostly grew up in the States. So they formed the band Fanny, and they played in Hollywood. They played in the Whiskey A Go Go. If you go to June Millington's page on Facebook, all their pictures from the back in the day are there. Oh my God, they played in the Whiskey A Go Go. They look like rock stars because they are rock stars. They are a great band. Of course, during that time, all female quote-unquote rock bands were not taken seriously. I guess, you know why. It's unfortunate, but that's how it was. But it was always seen probably as a novelty. It's like, ooh, look, girls playing rock and roll. But these particular women, they knew how to rock and roll. June Millington can play a nasty slide guitar, and you'll hear it on this song that's coming up. And she was actually best friends with Lowell George of Little Feat, a great slide guitar player as well. And she was also best friends with Jeff Skunk Baxter of the Doobie Brothers, and Steely Dan, who is a great slide player as well. They taught each other how to play, and they supported each other. And Fanny is awesome. Right when Perf referred them to me, my next visit to a local record store, I actually found their third album called Fanny Hill. And I was like, this is the band, this is Fanny. And you're going to see the album cover on the post on Facebook or wherever. And that is June at the center, with all her Filipino glory, and her sister on her right side, Jean, with all her Filipino glory as well. And they're two beautiful Filipino sisters who can rock the fuck out. And I am a new fan. Like I said, I'm such a fan. And David Bowie was also a fan. You'll hear all these stories in their interview. John Lennon, because the third album was recorded in England, in London, so they would hang out. And there was one time I think one of the stories, she'll tell it better than me, but I just want to get you guys excited, that they were at a party, and I think their manager or somebody who knew them said, "Hey Gene, John Lennon wants to meet you. He wants to talk to you." And like, fuck. I mean, what the fuck? John Lennon wants to meet you, and he wants to talk to you. What the fuck is that shit? It's fucking awesome. One of the most... Oh, I can't, hey, it's all there. So that's just a testament on how good a band Fanny was, and how good their music is. And I really would like to invite you to please listen to the music on Spotify or on YouTube. They have so much footage on YouTube, especially old footage, live footage, so that you can see that these women can play their instruments really well. They're so good, man. I'm such a fan of Fanny right now. And I just want to say, if June Millington is listening to this, I just want to say that Tita June, I really appreciate you making the time for this interview. The Filipinos really need to know that your band existed, and that you guys made such really good music. And I really appreciate that you did what you did. And it's just hashtag Pinoy Pride. This is exactly what hashtag Pinoy Pride is. And I hope you enjoy this interview. So please do check them out. Fanny, Fanny, on Spotify. They got all their albums there. Check them out on YouTube. Watch their live footage from back in the early 1970s. And be a fan. Be a fan of Fanny. So the song I'm going to play for you before the interview is it's a song called Ain't That Peculiar. And it's actually a... sorry about the outside noise. I'm in the car right now. It is a cover of a Motown song from Marvin Gaye, I think from 1964. And the original version is very upbeat, very Motown, very lively, although the lyrics are kind of not as happy as as the music portrays it to be. But Fanny did their version is so rockified. And the one thing that I want you to notice is that when the chorus comes in, when the main chorus comes in of Ain't That Peculiar, it goes halftime. And during 1972, when this album came out, I don't think there was any band doing halftime choruses, like heavy halftime choruses. That only came, in mainstream music I'm talking about, is when alternative music and grunge music happened. And the new wave of, the alternative music of the 80s, like the Pixies, they're the ones who were doing halftime choruses, like Nirvana, and Fanny did it in 1972. And it's heavy, man. It's really good. And if you listen to the song with the slide guitar and the bass lines and the halftime choruses, it's a song that Stone Temple Pilots would not be far to imagine them doing this version of that song. So that's how good this band is. So there you go. And they also have a song that I'd like to recommend for you after you listen to the interview. It's called Blind Alley. And it is a scorcher. Oh my God, rock and roll to the max. The vocal harmonies and the vocal performances of Jean and June and their piano player, the keyboard player, is just what female rock and roll sounds like. And they were the first. They were before Heart, the Runaways, and the Go-Go's. They looked up to Fanny. So that's their contribution to rock and roll, man. Even though they didn't become famous, that's why I'm doing this podcast, so that she gets her due. They get their due, the whole band, not just June and Jean, but the whole band, Fanny. All right, here we go. Episode 22, WDRS Talk, the Wolf's Den Radio Show Talk with Wolf Hemora and the great Miss June Millington. Enjoy. Thank you, Miss June Millington. Welcome to WDRS Talk, the Wolf's Den Radio Show Talk. It's such an honor and to have you here. And a lot of my friends back in the Philippines are clamoring, dude, you got to get her on your podcast. You got to interview this woman. So I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you.
You're so welcome. You got me.
Yeah, I finally got you.
Yeah.
So I tried my best to explain who you are in the intro of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to do my research, and I am amazed at what you and your sister and your bandmates have accomplished in the short time that you were, that you were active. And it's just because I want to start this episode by my experience of how I discovered you guys, and it was only last year.
Okay.
It was really only last year, and when the start of the lockdown, everybody's home and you have a lot of time on your hands. And then a friend of mine, a guitarist from the Philippines, I think he linked a video of the song "Ain't That Peculiar." That live clip that you had from back in the day. I think it was a television performance. And then you just mentioned that, the two sisters, the two lead players are Filipino. Just like, oh wow, okay. I don't know about this. And I'm a music nerd, so I was like, how do I not know this? And especially that you're Filipino. So when I clicked the link and it came on, I'm like, holy shit, yeah, there she is, Filipino, very Filipino. And when I saw it and you were playing slide, you had a Les Paul and all the members were rocking out, and your sister was, oh my God. I'm like, these are rock stars. How did I not know about this band? And a couple of days later, I went to a record store and I found your second album, Fanny Hill, in the racks. And I was like, oh, this is the band. This is Fanny. And I was like, so I bought it right away. And then when I put it on when I got home, and that first song, Ain't That Peculiar, it sounded so good. I'm like, I was shouting the whole time. I was shouting. It's like, wow, who are these people? How come I don't know about them? And then every song, and the production on that second album is so good because it was recorded in London, right?
That was actually the third album.
Oh, the third album.
Yeah, that was the one recorded at Apple Studio with Jeff Emmerich, the Beatles recording engineer, at their studio. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and it sounds so good.
Yeah.
And then all your yours, and then I started doing my real research, and then I went to your website and then YouTube, and then you have an unfinished documentary.
Yeah.
And then I was learning all the facts on Wikipedia, and even, oh my God, even David Bowie was a fan, and David Bowie was not just a fan, but he was like championing you guys with even writing about you guys on Rolling Stone.
Yep, he was a huge fan. He was sincerely a huge fan.
Wow. So that's how I reacted when I first discovered Fanny. I was so...
Well, a lot of people actually do react like that. Like, how did I not know?
Yeah.
So we can cover some of that. How did you not know? It's even is still shocking a little bit to me, and I was there. I mean, we worked so hard.
No, I realized that now that I did my research. I'm like, it's like each album, and then I went back to the first album, and even the first album is good. I have a lot of questions about that first album too. I mean, the songs are so good.
Yeah, we didn't fool around. We were definitely full on in everything that we did, and the songs are not just in one style. When we got to LA in 1969, May of 1969, actually, we were more of a funk band than we were rock and roll. It was the industry that kind of not forced us, but it definitely turned us towards the direction of rock and roll.
Rock and
And
roll.
I think it's because rock was really the only frame that, recognition systems could hear girls playing. Funk didn't seem right, I guess, to the people who managed us and the record company and all that. So they more or less pointed us towards rock and roll. And we were such good musicians that we were able to, for me, I didn't even play lead when we got to LA. And on the first album is Badge. And I learned how to play lead guitar in 1 year. Because I'm Filipino. Filipinos know how to work. We know how to study. I mean, I went to Assumption and I went to American school.
Oh my God.
And, they made us work our asses off and our hands off. And we knew how to work. I mean, it just so happened that the other girls in the band, Alice and it ended up being Nikki on keyboards, they also knew how to work, but they didn't have to learn lead guitar, right away.
Wow. So is that you on lead on Badge?
Yeah, I'm on lead on everything. I'm the guitar player.
So you just learned how to play lead and you played that solo on Badge, because that solo is fire, man. It's like so on fire. And
yeah, but I got to drop a couple of names here. Not only did I work hard every day, but I had really good friends who were great guitarists who helped me in the process just by jamming with me, sort of like night and day. And those would be Lowell George from Little Feat, Skunk Baxter from, at the time, he was with, he wasn't with the Doobie Brothers yet. He was with
Steely Dan, right?
He was with Steely Dan, and he was actually my guitar repairman. I didn't even know he played guitar.
Oh my God.
So when he heard me play guitar, it completely freaked him out. I was like, what? And we became really great friends. So I would say, those two guys not only shared their expertise, but they shared, like Lowell would come over and he would play me new songs, like willing, So there was a certain art to presenting music. And I'll tell you, what we call the classic rock guitar sound now was being invented then. And I was there. I was there.
That's why you sound. That's why you sound like all of them. That's why your guitar tone's like that, because you were there.
Well, in part, yes, but also at some point I gave up trying to sound like everybody else. So when you give that up, it leaves a lot of space inside of you and a lot of time.
Right.
So I just started to dig into what I really, let's say, number one, liked, and number two, knew. And as I knew more, I gradually grew into the Jean Millington, what is now known as my sound, which to me, it doesn't even really seem that special, but I know it is because nobody else sounds like it.
No. It's special. It's special, especially when you... I noticed that I think in my, when I hear your music and when I hear you play lead, when you hit those high notes, when you're bending, I can feel it. Whatever you're trying to put out there, I feel it every time. It's like, oh yeah, and I'm still in that really fresh fan face because I'm still shouting when I listen to you. When you're playing that bend in Badge, in that version of Badge, I'm screaming in the car. It's like, yeah, bend that note. It's like, because that song is special to me because I'm a drummer, and back in the Philippines, when I was active during the 90s. And when we were starting out, my band was named Wolfgang. Badge was one of our first covers, and we played Badge all the time. So when I saw I was like, oh, Fanny plays Badge? Is this the Badge of Cream? And then when I turn it on, I'm like, oh, it's Badge of Cream. And then you have a totally different version, which is really cool too. And then,
frankly, I think ours is the definitive version. I think that Cream did a really good version, a great version, but I think ours is the definitive version.
Yeah.
And I just say that because I can feel it even now. There are certain notes that I hit that are kind of, they're not just intentional, but they're a plea. They're a real emotional plea.
Mhm.
And it's directed right at you, and you felt it, 40, 50 years later. So you're responsive to that.
Yeah.
It's very intentional.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I felt it. So there you go. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I was like, I felt it that I was shouting, I was shouting in the car like a madman. So anyway, of course, people are going to be listening to this and they want to hear you and your sister's backstory because, of course, there is this thing. I don't know if you know this about in the Philippines. There's this hashtag that Filipinos use. It's called Pinoy Pride.
Ah.
Yeah,
well,
it's
I'm
a
way
hashtag
into that, man. I'm way into that.
and then they usually use it when they find out that somebody who's famous already has some sort of Filipino roots. Any kind of Filipino roots. And then they'll say, oh, this guy, this girl, Pinoy Pride, even though that person has never been to the Philippines or has no clue about their culture, but they just happen to be, their grandma just happened to be Filipino, you know. So when it's a legitimate, artist or anything, or a person of recognition, that hashtag Pinoy Pride gets really serious. It was there it was like Kirk Hammett of Metallica. He's Filipino. Everyone knows it. Everyone knows it. And everyone's just, there's a Filipino in Metallica. It's mind blowing,
Yeah.
So now.
Well, I'll tell you, there's a documentary that is coming out within 2 months, and it'll be ongoing in the way that it's unveiled at festivals and all that. It'll be ongoing until 2022. And it's called Pinoy Pride. It's called Fanny, The Right to Rock. But aside from that, there's also a Fanny musical being written, and there's a script for a movie or a TV series. Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff that's actually about to explode around Fanny. But, the important thing is that we're still here. Hey, so I can tell you, I can tell you our Pinay story, right? From, directly from me. It's all true. We're culturally Filipino. We grew up in Manila.
So what's the story? Let's do your
Okay, so you got to give me like 5 minutes uninterrupted time because this is a big story and it's long. So you want to hear it from the top?
Go.
Okay. So my mother met my dad, who was a lieutenant commander in the U.S. Navy. He actually graduated from Annapolis. He's from Burlington, Vermont, which is not that far north from where I live right now in Goshen, Massachusetts. So I'm basically a post-war baby. She's full-on Filipina. She's Limhoco Lejano. Maybe some of, the people listening in the Philippines know those names. Limhoco was her family's surname. Lejano was her mom's name, Felicia Lejano. So I'm born in 1948, and we are raised, now you know this, Filipinos are metro locals, so we were raised in our grandmother and grandfather's compound, okay? It was big. In fact, I wrote a book called Land of a Thousand Bridges. Anybody wants to get it can, and I have a long section about growing up in the Philippines and lots of photos. But the main thing I want to express is that we were raised Filipina. We were raised culturally. I feel a lot more Filipino than I do American. Although, of course, I know all. But, we used to sneeze, haching, not hachu, haching, right? Yeah. So we're kind of laughed at because there's a lot of little things that I was like, Jesus, why are you, kind of putting us down or whatever. But aside from that, so I went to St. John's in kindergarten for 2 years. So that's a Filipino school. All my uncles went there. Jean went there as well. And then we went to American school, and we were still living in our grandmother and grandfather's house, which was a huge place, like I said. Some of the unmarried aunts were still living at home. They were not allowed to leave. Some of our uncles were living there with their kids. So we grew up in an extended Filipino compound. There was no American about it except our dad, who was totally accepted. They loved him, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're in this compound, and it was, like I said, it was big. And a little detail I got to give you is that our grandmother and grandfather's ice plant was at the end of the block, and it was the only one in Manila, or maybe all of the Philippines, that wasn't bombed during the war. I mean, seriously, the only one. And so who needed ice with their Cokes when they won the war? Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we grew up sort of with an affluence, but when we hit American school, for me, that was first grade, that did not hold, too much weight. I was still Filipino, and at American school, I really felt diminished. But the interesting thing is we were still living at San Juan Rizal, which was the name of the estate. It was huge. I mean, huge house, servants, and, houseboys, and a Cadillac that had its own driver, that kind of thing. 2 fish ponds, 3 lawns. But that's the world I grew up. But when I went to American school, I really felt small. So that was kind of hard. There was like a pinched way to grow up and have an identity. In fact, I didn't have an identity. I didn't know who I was, except when I was with the Filipino family. And then around, maybe around second grade or so, we moved out to our own house, which was, and maybe some people know this club, right by the newly formed Wak Wak Club, golf club. Wak
I
Wak
used
Club.
to live right next to the Wak Wak Golf Club.
Okay, so we were right across the creek. So from about 3rd to 6th grade, I think it was, I went to American school. And that was not, for me personally, not a great experience. However, my dad decided he was moving back to the States, and my mom finally agreed. So he got on a plane, and he came here, and he drove all over the U.S. actually to find a place that he thought. And I asked him about this. Why did you choose Sacramento? Mm-hmm. And he said, because I thought that you would have the least amount of discrimination there. Well, that was the least amount of discrimination, was still a lot. However, there were a lot of Japanese, Chinese, Filipinos, so when it did have a diversity. However, being brown, again, it was kind of a drag until until the variety show at the junior high in 1965. I had just written my second song called Miss Wallflower 62, which we performed with 2 other girls, 4 guitars, 4 girls singing Miss Wallflower 62. Now, another detail is that we switched from ukuleles to acoustic guitars just about 2 weeks before stepping on the ship to go from Manila to San Francisco. And that's because, believe it or not, I heard a young girl who I believe was an angel to show me an acoustic guitar. The last day of school, I'm sitting in Mother Milagros at Assumption. They're really tough. I mean, they're really strict. But I heard this sound, and I literally got up and walked down the hall, which was basically an outdoor veranda. And in movies when everything stops and everyone freezes and the person can walk around and do whatever, and they come back and then everything resumes. That's basically what happened. Mother Milagro said not one word. The students didn't even look at me. I walked down that veranda hallway, and there was this girl about 3 classrooms down, and she was facing the corner of the opposite wall, and she was playing a guitar, an acoustic guitar. And I remember exactly what I thought, which was, why didn't anyone tell me? I mean, it was just like emblazoned. Why didn't anybody tell me? I knew that this was my ticket to my freedom, And that's partly why music to me means so much. It means everything. It means the way that I got onto a higher plane and started to write songs, and how me and Jean started to get attention because people started to stop us in the hall. They say, hey, I really like that song. And they just keep walking. But at least they'd said something to me or her or to Jean. So that was a really, really big deal. And that was the start of our liberation into music. You know, we didn't go into, let's say, rock and roll. Well, basically it was folk and then into Motown funk and then rock. We didn't go into music for sex, drugs, into rock and roll or rock and roll. We would just want to have like one friend, anybody who would say hi. And I don't know if you know that feeling, but that is, you know, when you're really lonely, one person who will stop you in the hall and say, hey, I really like that song. It means everything. So that is my loyalty to music per se. And of course, I've been through, you know, when I quit Fanny in 1973, I didn't just walk off on some cloud, you know, and stop playing. So I've been playing music since then, and there are many phases I've gone through. But that's basically by 1964, late 64, 65, we were starting a band. Me and Jean, because a girl from a rival high school heard about us, and she called and she said, hey, you want to start a band? And I remember I picked up the phone in the kitchen because we were doing the dishes. And this girl said, hey, I heard you play. Would you like to start a band? I mean, really, it was really no, you know, much of an introduction or whatever. And I looked at Jean and I said, this girl wants to know if we want to start a band, you know? And we just kind of looked at each other for a split second. She nodded and I turned and said yes into the phone. And that was the start of what became, you know, the 4 Fanny albums, starting in 1970 and playing at both the Fillmore East and the Fillmore West. And, you know, all the adventures that we had that were just ultra fantastic. And they were all true, by the way. The problem for us is that people couldn't see it. People couldn't really see it. You know, first they would laugh at us and then they would fall in love with us. And then, you know, so on and so forth. And finally in 73, I kind of fell apart because we should have had enough recognition, like a hit, for the record company to not be going, hey, you're not selling enough records. Well, we were selling 60,000 units per album. I mean, you know, now that would be like, I don't know, gold or platinum. So I had to leave, and it was really heartbreaking because, you know, Jean and I had worked so hard to get to this point where we could play our asses off, and we knew it. You know, we would walk into a room and we would rule. But I was falling apart. My mom thought I was going to die, and it wasn't because of drugs. I just, my heart was broken. I just was, it was like being on a bad acid trip, you know?
Oh my God.
It's kind of hard to explain, but it was a really terrible state to be in. And I felt like I needed to leave basically because I needed to learn how to become an authentic human being. And that led me to Buddhism and Woodstock, New York, and so on and so forth. That's a whole other, you know, piece of the puzzle.
Yeah. So, wow. So when you were already playing. Yeah, you started playing when you were still in Manila, right? Is that what you meant?
Yeah, we started playing ukuleles, but the important the important thing about the ukuleles is that we were learning songs off the radio. So basically, we were ear training. So when you do Neil Sedaka's Calendar Girl when you're 8 or 9, you know, you're really learning form. You're learning harmony, you know. So we were learning songs off the radio from the minute we started to play ukulele. So, of course, Harry Belafonte was huge, you know. And we were learning great songs. Wake Up Little Susie on ukulele is pretty hot.
Yeah. And I love Harry Belafonte, man. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know how many girls were doing that around the world. I doubt if too many, but we did it in the privacy of our room with the radio. So people weren't laughing at us. People weren't saying, hey, what are you doing? Or that doesn't sound good or whatever. We didn't have that judgment. We had those 2 or 3 years to develop ear training, and it was really, really incredible.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what was the because here, I don't know if the East Coast has Barnes and Noble bookstores, but here in Southern California, they sell like a small digest of each city in Orange County, like Santa Ana, the Lagunas, and the origins of those cities. And there was one edition that featured California bands during the 60s, because they were featuring the surf rock era. I think that was, and so I would rummage, and there was a lot of pictures, and of course you're reading a book, you like to see the pictures. And during that era, there was a lot, not many, but a lot in the pictures of female lead guitarists, and the music was like, it was surf rock, so they were obviously the ones playing the lead, the lead surf solos, like Dick Dale and stuff. And there was at least 4 of them with, like, wearing dress. This is like the early 60s, and they were wearing dresses and high heels and the garb of that era. But they had the Jaguars, they had like the Strat, strung low, and I was like, oh my God, there were women rocking out in the early 60s. It's like it's so it's such a, when I saw that, and then with Fanny, it's like it's such a disservice to these women that they were just like, it's just a picture in a brochure, in a book now, where they were probably kicking all the other guys' ass in those shows, on the guitar.
Well, like I said, the public wasn't ready to see that frame. For us, there was no frame that we could reference. The closest was a space, but they did not play instruments. So, in fact, what we did was we created a frame and we stepped into it. We literally stepped into a frame that at least, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of people around the world saw it, but quite a few, because we ended up, recording 4 albums and being on all the major TV shows and so on. So at least there was a little bit of glimmer, but it just was society was not ready to see that picture. I mean, they would see it, but they would not see it. How many people have said to me, I saw some show somewhere, but not enough. There was not enough of a 100th monkey syndrome to push it over number 40 with Charity Ball.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That was pretty high. That was pretty high.
Oh yeah, I believe you.
Yeah.
So it wasn't exactly frowned upon, but just like.
Are you kidding? Yes, it was totally frowned upon. Are you kidding?
Really?
No. Let me tell you a story that's in my book, okay?
Okay.
High school. We're playing a teen center, probably in Santa Clara. And so we're wearing our dresses. We always wore matching dresses, and this, like, 4 boys come up and stand in front of us. There are a lot of kids in the room, teen center. And this one boy starts to stand in front of me. He's pointing at my skirt, okay? And I move away, and he moves with me. He's pointing, he's leering, he's laughing with his friends. You know what? And this is in the book. I said, I got so upset. I finally kicked him in the face with my high heels, okay? Kicked him in the face. And the closing line of that chapter, don't piss off a girl with a guitar in high heels.
Yeah.
Okay? So, but that was just like, I remember that as an incident, but it was like across the board. We would walk onto a stage, and remember, we did high schools, colleges. We played for guys about to leave for Vietnam. We played Air Force bases, officers clubs. We took any gig we could, and the way that we found out that we were getting better and better is that people got up and danced. They couldn't wait to get to the dance floor. So that is what turned everything around. We were good. We were good way before we got to LA, We could kick out. We provided the beat, we could play Do You Believe in Magic, for example, or Land of a Thousand Bridges, which is why, Land of a Thousand Dances, which is why my book is called Land of a Thousand. But Midnight Hour,
Wow, you were playing that stuff?
Wow. Well, anything that was on the radio, we played, and people danced to it. So that was the frame that we could fill, and we totally filled that frame. I mean, it was bursting, you know. So we did that. But as far, you know, and people still now, they kind of say, oh, well, you know, their original songwriting wasn't that good. I mean, I beg to differ. We have a lot of great songs on each album that we wrote. But, you know, I'm starting to answer people. I'm 72 and I'm a pissed off Filipina. Don't tell me that our writing was not good. You know,
No, it was good.
Don't even try it. You're wrong, man.
Yeah, no, they're wrong. Yeah, no, because I noticed I did the same thing. I had the same thought. It's like, because the Ain't Peculiar, I didn't know that it was a Marvin Gaye song.
Well, see, so right there.
Like, so to me, that song is a Fanny song. That version is
my version. Yeah, but we played that in the Svelts in our high school band. Don't you dig it? We were playing those Motown songs in the Svelts in high school. So if you want to understand Fanny, you got to understand what we were doing since 1964, 65.
Right.
In those 5 years, we were playing every hit on the radio. Knock on Wood, To Serve with Love, Give Me a Ticket to an Airplane, Ain't Got Time for a Letter, The Only Days Are Gone, you know, My Girl. I mean, when we did My Girl at an Air Force club, I mean, the guys, you know, they just got out of basic training. They're just about to be sent to Vietnam. They had to put MPs in front of the stage.
Wow.
You know? So we knew how to do it, and we knew all those apples, peaches, pumpkin pie, which you probably don't even know, right?
Yeah.
You don't know that song, okay? So, but that was a huge hit. I mean, if you didn't know that Marvin Gaye did Ain't That Peculiar, you know? So there was a lot of material that we knew like the back of our hands. I mean, you know, the song that Jean sang, and she plays that totally kick-ass bass, you know, Young and Dumb was a B-side of Ike and Tina Turner. Oh, we took that tune and we totally turned it on its head. I mean, it's not that good, the original. So we would take these songs and turn them into works of art. Yeah. But we also had our own works of art, which was our own original music. And there's not one bad thing we ever did. No, there isn't. I mean, I challenge any band in the world to go out there and do Hey Bulldog. I mean, now I'm talking about covers, Hey Bulldog and, you know, Badge, you know, and other covers. But we also had like, do you want to try and play Place in the Country, which was Nikki's song? You want to try and play that? Or Soul Child, which Jean and I wrote together? Go ahead and try that. I mean, you gotta have some chops. You know, don't just tell me that we weren't that good. Screw you. Try to play that.
And your vocal arrangements are you have different. It's like there's I just want to make sure there's that voice that you and Jean do. You do the same note, right? That's you and Jean, right?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. And sometimes a third voice will come and you guys switch to harmony. It's so good.
But dig it. This is what we were learning when we did the girl group songs and Motown and all that. Baby.
Yeah.
Baby, don't you leave me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just singing that by myself, but then the harmonies come in, or Stop in the Name of Love. All those songs have incredible vocal parts. And we pulled on all of that because we knew them. We didn't just sing them in our room. We played them live for audiences that went crazy once they realized we could play. They forgot that we were girls. Honestly, everybody loved music, and they loved the same music. If something was a hit on Monday, we were playing it on Friday and Saturday.
Right, that's right.
You know, so everybody all knew the same songs. It wasn't like in world, soft this, hard that, punk this, you know, whatever. No, you didn't have in fact, when we played, even all through Fanny, I never felt discrimination because people were so happy to be on the dance floor. I mean, happy, ecstatic. They wanted to forget all that. Vietnam War, you know?
Yeah, I was gonna save that stuff for later, but I'll save it for later. But no, because it's a whole different I guess, side, since you guys are immigrants, so there's that immigrant experience that I also want to, get forth, because I'm an immigrant as well. And there are a lot of Filipino musicians who were actually big and popular back in the Philippines, but they live here now.
Yeah.
And because of, economic reasons and all of that,
Yeah.
So I actually started making a documentary about those musicians and the immigrant feel to it, but the pandemic happened, so that's on the shelf. But anyway,
Okay. Yeah.
So oh my gosh, so that arrangement of Ain't That Peculiar, was that from when you started playing it? You put the slide guitar and all of that, or is that later
I
on?
know, when we started playing it, we were like, 16 or something. When we recorded Ain't That Peculiar, I was probably 22, 23.
Oh,
So,
okay.
a lot of, two types of experience. Arranging, okay? We did not have the capacity to rearrange Ain't That Peculiar when we were playing it for dance audiences.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Okay? So then I get to LA and I start hanging out with Lowell, who was a slide. I mean, if you listen to Bonnie Raitt, that is Lowell's sound. And I introduced Bonnie to Lowell. So there's a huge connection there, and Skunk. I mean, these guys really showed me their shit, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah, so by the time we're even thinking about Ain't That Peculiar, I was fooling around with Slider a lot. And I don't remember how we even thought of it, because, we played day and night, we just jammed, right?
Yeah.
And then whatever stuck.
Yeah.
So I'm sure I had I'm sure I had the slide in my hand, but I'm also equally sure that I didn't say, oh my God, I have this great idea. Why don't I do this amazing lick at the top of Ain't That Peculiar?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that's not how it happened. I'm sure we were just jamming.
It just happened. Yeah.
Hit on it. Yeah. I mean, Skunk still freaks out about that. Oh, I mean, he just goes nuts, when he talks about it.
When I first saw the video and you did the slide, I'm like, oh shit.
You know what?
This?
It wasn't even that hard for me, because I was working so hard in controlling tone and pitch and everything. And even by the time I got to that, to performing that, let me tell you, and this is really the truth, to me, that was just another day at the office.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't a special performance.
Yeah.
That was me just trying to do my level best to deliver our version of that song. Yeah, just so happened to be slide. And you know what? We knew about arrangements, because when I stopped with that intro, the band took over and I could just sing. Did you even notice that? All right, I'm just singing, and Nikki takes over that piano. I'm not playing, because my action had to be raised to do that slide part.
Oh, okay. Oh,
so you're not gonna play chords, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't that kind of a setup. I had a different guitar. The action was raised. I had a different sound, and also, and this is something that I've mentioned it in quite a number of interviews, but I don't know if people really get this, is I changed my sound between every song.
Yeah,
I didn't have pedals. So I would change the volume, I would change the settings. You have really good tone. I mean, of course, now that you said that Lowell George and Skunk Baxter were your like your mentors or something. No, they were my mentors. They were my best friends.
Oh, best friends. Okay.
That's a different level. I didn't look up at them like, oh my God, would you teach me something? Like we ran into each other, and then we fell in love with each other in that way.
So you guys were influencing each other.
What's that?
You were influencing each other.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I think I influenced Lowell a lot less than he influenced me, to tell you the truth. And the same with Jeff, but we were, yes, because I think they took a lot of not only pride, but they understood how I had to deal with courage in order to just step in front to do it. I mean, I was so scared. I didn't want to play lead, believe you me. That's a really exposed position. It's like you're on point. I'm going to use a Vietnam analogy. You've got a patrol, and there's somebody on point could be, very easily could be killed. Well, that was me. Everyone would point to me. And then after a while, when they kind of got used to me, they realized, oh my God, that bass player, she's beautiful. And look what she's doing. Because Jean is one of the best bass players in the world.
Oh my God. When I'm doing my research and I see your still shots of your live shots, like in the whiskey, you and your sister up front with your guitars and your hair and your clothes. Oh my God, it's just rock stars. Rock stars. Like and I can see that it's real. You're really like that. You guys have the rock and roll soul is what I call, what I think
it really,
it is.
It really was all that. Yeah. And I'll tell you something else. I probably would have not left the band. I mean, I can't say 100% sure, but I probably would not have left the band when I did if they had made us change our clothes. I mean, that really offended me. I'm a person who doesn't want to be told what to do. And so they're like, well, you're not selling enough records, so we have to get you, these designers and design these clothes. And of course, they showed more of our bodies. I mean, Jean didn't seem to mind so much because she's a clothes horse. But I resented it. Yeah. I resented the fact that we didn't have our thing, because when we went to LA and we got to wear basically what we wanted to wear, it worked. And they were basically fucking around with that, Sorry to use a swear word, but I really resented it. It was a wrong thing to do. They were killing my spirit slowly. And you're hearing when I'm playing guitar, you're hearing my spirit speak to you.
Yep.
So
I totally get it because I was signed to a record company too, and we had this when we were recording our first album. We had a ballad that was getting popular, a slow song, not even a ballad, but a slow song. And the record company, they wanted to make the whole album like that. We were like, what the heck? And we play hard rock, hard like early like Aussie stuff like that, that style. So we play music like Ozzy Osbourne, and you want us to release our first album full of ballads? Are you kidding me? So I get it, I get it, that whole thing. There's a
lot of weird stuff that goes on with,
it's like when they try to figure out how can we make money of these guys, and then they try to do it, but it's all wrong. It's like you have to concentrate on the music, and if the band is not producing good music, then you got to tell the band, it's like you got to step up. Your music's not good. If you don't step up, then you have to change your clothes. So it's either
nobody knows what the heck's happening. Nobody knows.
Yeah, nobody knows.
Have you ever read that? There was kind of a small book that Frank Zappa wrote. It was like a pamphlet, but it was like a thick pamphlet / book. Anyway, it's so funny. I mean, he is hysterical. By the way, he was a huge Fanny fan as well, and he
really.
He looked up to me in his own way,
Oh my
Whenever I saw him anywhere in the world, he would come up to me first, and that showed me his respect because guys didn't do that. They try to ignore me. He never did that. He always walked up to me and said hello. He let me into the rehearsals and, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so in this book, he says, really, it was really not that much different when like guys chomping on cigars, which is basically, he's talking about the mafia. I mean, pretty much all clubs were owned by the mafia. I mean, I could tell, and they loved us. Whiskey, all the clubs that we played since 64, 65 on were basically owned by the mafia. So I knew that world very well. They never messed with us because they loved us. They could tell that we were doing it and we were working really hard. Anyway, and Frank had a manager. They were his manager and his lawyer. I knew all three of them, and he was.
Oh my God!
Anyway, so he said, "There's really not that much difference between these cigar chomping guys behind a desk." And somebody plays them a 45 or a demo, and says, "What do you think?" And the guy says, "Well, I don't know. Why don't you put it out and see how it does?"
Yeah.
And those records did just as well as anything that you put focus groups on, you spend all this money on, you make a video, blah, blah, blah. And you know what? He's actually right when you think about it, and it is so true. Think about this song, okay? Think about these words. Imagine me and you, I do. I think about you day and night. It's only right. I mean, is that a hit? Well, nobody knows. Put it out.
Nobody knows, yeah.
See.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, is that sense of, I honestly don't know, but put it out. It's not going to cost that much. And let's see. People are I feel like they become kind of stupid. Everything's been reduced on Instagram or whatever.
Oh yeah.
See if it moves you. See if it moves you. That's the goal, really. I mean, Happy Together it's a great song, but it's also, invest a dime. If I would call you up, invest a dime. Nobody writes like that anymore. Will that be a hit? I don't know.
I don't
Why
know.
didn't you put it out and see?
It's not the best lyrics, so we don't know.
I truly believe in that, because you can't force people to love a song or a record. You cannot. You can put a lot of money into it. You cannot force people to love a song. And I know my voice is rising, but I also know what I'm talking about.
No. That's called, it's called passion. That's what's it called.
That's just the way it is, people.
Yeah, I totally get it. It's just when like I said, I'm going back to the research that I did, and it just feels like just like anything else that was female, because during that time it was also the female. What you call this? The women's liberation movement was happening, the feminist movement, and so. So when I look at Fanny, when I saw Fanny, it's like these guys are part of all of that without them even being vocal about it, because I don't
we
think
were really
were.
surprised that we were a part of it because we didn't know. Finally, we went, I guess we're feminists because we're doing what we want. Isn't that what feminism
No, yeah,
that was. Finally, it just reduced itself to that.
Yeah, when I would hear the songs, even when you, I don't know if this was I don't know if it was you were conscious of this, but Ain't That Peculiar? It's a funny song because, especially if it was when it was sung, you sang that, right?
Yeah.
Was that you and lead vocals? Okay, so it sounds, the verses sound like a desperate woman.
It's a forlorn love song.
I know. But
honest.
the funny thing about that song is that when the chorus comes in, it's like, ain't that peculiar? It's like, so there's that doubt. So you're not completely submissive to whoever you're singing that love song to. It's like, it's freaking weird that you're treating me like crap and I'm still here with you. So,
don't forget it goes into halftime there. See, that's part of our arranging capability.
Yeah.
Because it's double time, kind of Latin.
Yeah.
To the verse, and then it gets to that Ain't That Peculiar, that, that slide guitar just roars out at you, but it's halftime. So you have a lot of room for expressing, all of a sudden it's aggressive. But I wouldn't say the woman thinks that she's won. I think she's just saying, hey, ain't that peculiar, but you got the room to express it. And that that slide guitar just simply spoke to everyone then, and it's speaking to people even more now. And I'm, maybe I'm amazed. It's really amazing.
Yeah, because now that you revealed that there are projects coming up that will definitely put if it's marketed correctly, it'll put you guys up there again. And during this time, I have
a new record that will be coming out.
Oh, there you go.
In 3 months, of old material and new material, and it's gonna be super hot.
Yeah, because if women, because especially nowadays, with the Me Too movement and women are really on the forefront now. Everyone, it's like, don't mess with us now. It's like, not anymore. We're past that. You can't mess with us anymore. Those days are gone.
Unfortunately, there's still a lot of messing around that goes. A lot of Native American women are disappearing from reservations. Kids are being found frozen in the snow and all that kind of stuff. I'm super concerned about that. So I'm concerned that boys and men are being taught you shouldn't do that to women, because women are not doing that.
Oh yeah,
to children and other women. That is all men.
Yeah.
So. That's really horrible, and I don't forget that. So yes, things have changed, but we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, but like what I'm thinking is if Fanny comes to the surface again and people realize, especially women, especially young women or young girls who are musicians, and they see you and they're like, who's that? Because I guess if they were real rockers, if their parents were rockers, the I guess the farthest that they could go would be like the Runaways, the all female rock band. And you were way before them. You were like 5 years before them or even more.
No, not that much. No, not that much.
Not that much.
Maybe,
But you were
maybe 3, something like that. Yeah.
but you were still ahead. I mean, 3 years, so that's a long time.
Oh yeah. We were ahead of everybody, and that is
that's
all
why.
spoken about in the film. Because the Runaways are in it. I mean, the Go-Go's, Bonnie Raitt, Joe Elliott, Skunk. I mean,
Wow.
all the heavies whom we know, but a lot of the women didn't talk about us. Unfortunately, I was waiting to hear somebody talk about us since 1975. Let's say,
Oh my
let's give it
God.
2 years. Not one of them said anything about Fanny, and now they're all like, "Oh yeah, Fanny," and I do kind of feel a rub about that, but
Yeah.
at least it's happening.
No, and I think I think it's the perfect time that it's happening. If it was going to happen,
agree.
I think right now is the perfect time because you're going to have
By
young
the
girls
way, if
looking at
there's
you
a
guys.
film festival in the Philippines, let us or me know about it, and I'll let the director of the movie know because it should be shown in the Philippines.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
It's called
yeah.
Fanny, The Right to Rock. And if
Oh,
it played in the Philippines, I would do my best to go there and play a few licks for everyone.
Everyone has to know, and especially
Yeah.
now with all this the Asian hate crimes and all of this bullshit.
That's right.
When they see you, especially you, because Jean is mestiza, but you are totally Filipino and Asian looking, and people.
Well, we're exactly the same. We're both mestiza,
No, yeah, but I mean, you look really Filipino. When I saw you, it's
I
like,
do.
when I saw Jean,
I
it's
got
like,
my
that's a
mom.
mestiza Filipina. She's
Yeah.
Filipino too, yeah. So
Well, I
young,
look more Filipina now that I'm having chemo treatments for cancer. So I'm actually, the weird thing is I'm looking more like my mom as I go through these treatments. It's really interesting.
How you doing?
No, don't worry about it. I'm going to live. It's fine. It's
Okay,
something I
good.
had to live through, but I've been spoken to by my ancestors, and they've assured me,
Okay.
I'm going to live. So that's not a problem. That's why I can say, you know what? Let's get this film to the Philippines, and I'll come and I'll
Oh, man.
attend, and I'll play some for you guys, etc. It'll be so much
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, so like I said, it's like if a young girl is who especially is like, I want to play guitar, and then they see you, it's like, wow, look at her.
Yeah, man.
You know?
Yeah, man. Totally. And I'm hoping that for the musical and for the movie, like either a movie or TV series, that they will hold auditions for girls around the world to audition for, for us. So I would like to see who ends up playing, guitar for June, bass for Jane. And I'd be happy to help, because I'd be happy to. I hate it when I see people playing guitar and they're like playing the wrong licks. I was like, dude, or gal, whoever you are, what are you doing?
You're cool, man. Because you give it. Pardon my French, but you give a shit. That's why you're like that.
Oh yeah.
You still care.
The fact is, I know what I'm doing, and I'm pretty strict. I hate it when people just kind of try to lie their way through it. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Do what I did and work every day from the second you wake up.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. From the second I woke up, I was working. I kid you not, for a year. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go. So what was the beginnings of playing live as Fanny? I mean, when it's like it was the Sunset Strip and all of that and Troubadour.
Mm-hmm.
Did you go straight? Let's play already. Let's not.
Well, we did a lot of club gigs in the Bay Area before we hit the road.
Oh, okay.
Partly because we were developing our material, but partly because we were developing our sound. So they gave us the Warner Brother soundstage to rehearse in, which is huge. You know what a soundstage is at the movie lot, at Warner Brothers movie lot?
Yeah.
So these are huge sound stages. And when you rehearse in a place like that for 2 or 3 months, you learn to control your sound, because sound, it's like playing at a coliseum or a big stage. The sound will get eaten up. It will just disappear. So we learn how to control our sound. And I would say the first big gig we did was the Santa Monica Civic Auditorium opening for the Kinks.
Oh my God.
So there's not a band that we didn't play with back then except for the Beatles and the Who, but everybody else.
See, that's the reason why they have to put that movie out or that play or whatever, so that people know.
It's coming out real soon. It's coming out real soon. Yeah.
Because the stories that I'm hearing right now are just like, it's amazing what you've accomplished, and it has to be.
Listen, even a band like Red, was it Red White? Come and get your love. Come and get your, what was the name of that? Redbone, the Native American band, right?
Oh,
so
yeah, that's
really
right. Yeah.
They were really good friends of ours. Now when I say, don't you know, come and get your love, and some people know that was a huge hit and was so good. And I remember when, what was his name? The tall guy with the kind of mustache, he ran up to the dressing room at the Whiskey, and people couldn't get in, but he could get in. And he ran up to me, sat down. He said, June, we just recorded a hit. And I'm like, really, you did? And I believed him totally. And it was a hit,
Wow. And he was talking about that song.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
and that is a groove tune. Not only is the vocal great, but that's a groove.
That song is so popular in the Philippines.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, what about Story? Do you know that group Story?
Story? No.
Okay, so they had
maybe the song, but I don't know the name of the band.
No, that's the band. So it was Steve Love on guitar, and we did gigs with them in Europe. And what was the name of that song? It's basically when he did the lead, a whole string section doubled him.
Oh,
and that was what impressed me so much about that solo. When I finally got to meet him, I was just thrilled, and we became really good friends. Louie, 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 Louie.
Yeah.
Louie, Louie, Louie. Do you know that song?
Yeah.
Gang, 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 gang.
You're talking about Stephen Love of Love, right? The band Love.
No, I'm talking about the band Story.
No. You said who? You said Love. Someone named Love.
Steve Love was the lead guitar player.
Oh, okay.
He was incredible. So, a lot of people may not know the name Steve Love, but he was a huge influence on me. So there are a lot of bands that we knew whom we played with, like Story, like Redbone, like the 103rd Street Band, like the band that did that cowbell part, time that good.
Oh yeah.
Right.
The something brothers,
right. Like
something,
Sly and the Family Stone, who we did a gig with before we even went to LA. And Sly would come and hang out in the studio with us. So, there are, a lot of these stories are in the book because they're so emblematic of how I learned, not just learned, but how I understood the center of a song and understood the funk. Because you got to leave room, but you also need to know what to play.
Yeah.
And making those kinds of choices while you're learning could seem kind of, like hardcore. But once you get it, you know what to do. And that's what I do now when I write. Like when I say I have a new album coming out, it's old stuff that I never released before, but it's also new material that I actually recorded here with Lee Mataloni, who was Earl Slick's son. Do you know who Earl Slick is?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's here right now. He's Lee's dad, and he's Gene's ex-husband. So he played guitar with me on 3 of the songs, and they're killer. I can't wait. But I'm in my treatment right now, so they won't be finished for like 3 months. But when they are, it'll be incredible.
Hey, sisters and brothers, I have a new sponsor, my friends Gary and Mary Lou from alkalinewatersogood.com. They are international Kangen water distributors. Kangen water is delicious water created from Enagic's innovative water technology. Enagic is a 56-year-old Japanese company with 40 offices in 23 countries, including an office in Manila and 8 offices in the U.S. And it is the leading manufacturer of alkaline ionizers and water filtration machines in the world. Not only do these devices filter your tap water, but they also produce ionized alkaline and acidic waters through electrolysis. These waters can be used for various purposes, including drinking, cooking, beauty, and cleaning. Can you imagine never buying bottled water again? The plastic in bottled water often contains BPA and other chemicals which are proven to be hazardous to your health. And how much fun is it lugging cases of it from the market, recycling it, and plastic is an environmental nightmare. According to Gary, it's also a great way to add an additional income stream. He's been selling machines for over 12 years internationally, and everyone needs the healthiest water in the world. So folks, if you have any questions about Kangen water, check out their website at alkalinewatersogood.com. That's alkalinewatersogood.com. Or you can email them at gary@garyballin.com.
Yeah,
All
because
the Fanny stuff is coming out, and I've got all this new material, and I just got to get through my my treatments and blah blah blah. So it's all going to come together by the summer.
oh, that's gonna be great.
I'm talking about May, June.
Yeah.
That's my summer. Yeah, not too long from now.
So I wanted to. So let's go to that political side of things, the feminist. But there was a song on the first album, "Conversations with a Cop."
Conversation with a
Conversation with a Cop. I'm like,
that's Nikki's song.
whose?
Nikki, the keyboard player.
The keyboard player. Oh, is she singing that one?
Let me think about it. Yes,
Or
I
was
believe
it-
so.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe that's her singing.
Because when I saw the title, "Conversations with a Cop," I'm like, whoa, that's
No
kinda-
conversation.
Conversation. I'm
Single
sorry.
conversation.
Yeah. Conversation with a Cop. It's like, wow, that's pretty. That's not like the other titles. It was a little more
heavy duty.
serious.
Oh
And
yeah,
then-
it's heavy duty.
And then when she was singing the lyrics, I'm like, whoa, this is a dark song. What's this about? I mean, and then I go, you know what? This song is so timely with what's happening now.
That's right.
With all the police brutality and all that. I'm like, I was listening to the song. I'm like, whoa, this is heavy. This is heavy. And then it's like, I'm just trying to walk my dog. It's like, it's like, whoa. It's like was that a personal experience from her?
I mean, I never really had conversations with her about her lyrics or what her songs were about, but
Okay.
I certainly got the feeling that it was real for
It was
her.
real.
Well, Nikki was kind of paranoid. So I knew that for her it was real in whatever way it happened for her.
Yeah.
And I knew that she walked her dog every night. So I knew that for her it was a tangible experience.
Right.
And it was so tangible for her that it became real for us. And we created a track. I mean, I worked really hard on the guitar parts on that song. And partly my part was informed by the Flying Burrito Brothers because I was a really good friend of their pedal steel player. God, oh my God, his name is just escaping me. It'll probably come. So a lot of my guitar parts, which I poured myself into that, is like, Sneaky Pete. It was a really good friend of mine. So what Sneaky Pete was playing on Flying Burrito Brothers and you name it, so many hits.
Yeah.
I was informed by that, and I worked really hard on it. And I know Jean worked so hard on her bass part. We didn't think of it as, we're working so hard. We would pour ourselves totally into every jam, even. Every jam, every song we wrote, every song we, recorded. we worked so hard, and that's a really important distinction, to make. It was 24/7, really.
Yeah, I saw those pictures of you guys at rehearsals and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you look like you're just having fun, just jamming, you know?
We were just kids. We were
Yeah.
just kids. But we were so determined, And
Yeah.
that's what you got to have. You got to have that determination.
But anyway, like going back to that song, I mean, if Black Lives Matter people heard that song, they'd be like, "Oh my God, that's us,"
Well, I
or
hope they hear it. Yeah, yeah.
or whoever
Mm-hmm.
has ever had experience of being harassed by the cops. I mean, I've been harassed
Yeah.
by the cops, back in the
Yep.
Philippines. The cops in the Philippines are the worst. Shit,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, they're not. Yeah, yeah. They don't put their
Mm-hmm.
knees on your neck. They just shoot you right away, and then
Yeah, right. Right.
it's stuff. It's like that, So
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
so you can right away I could relate to that song. I'm like, wow, and so you guys, and it's like that. You have all these songs, and that are sung by women, so it's a female voice, so it gives a totally different feel to it when it's a woman
Yeah.
singing it.
Yeah, that's right.
Because if it was a guy singing conversation with a cop, then you'd be like, well, okay, that happens, But if it's a woman
Well, there
singing,
wouldn't be the lightness of a woman's delivery in her voice,
right?
So it's a whole other bag. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. It would because it was like I could feel like the fear in that
Mm-hmm.
song. It's like, whoa, man, this is
Yeah.
not cool, man. Whatever whatever the cop did to her, if this was real, is not cool because you can feel it.
Yeah.
So you what was the journey of Fanny through the recording of the albums? We
had to learn how to record. Simply that. We had to learn how to record. And so our producer, Richard Perry, would take us into studio after studio to cut demos, especially while we're looking for our new fourth member. So we did that maybe for, I don't know, like 8 months, maybe a year. So, and that was a really important part of Fanny, that we managed to take the time to learn how to record. And that's really important.
So this was before
you
you
walk into a studio and do that, do those harmonies or those vocals and have them blend and the arrangements and all that. That was all worked out.
Did you guys work out those? I mean, when I say you guys, just the members, the producer wasn't really. Do you guys have an idea? Okay, let's do our vocals like this.
Yeah, I mean, he was involved, but it's hard to know because he was working on his own career in terms of a producer. I mean, you do know that we backed Barbra Streisand on 2 songs, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the band Fanny backed Barbra Streisand on 2 songs live. Okay, so previous to that, we had to learn. It wasn't because we wanted to play with Barbra Streisand. It was because we were so interested in the process, So by the time we got to playing with her, we knew what to do. But Richard was working on getting his deal together with her, while we were working on Charity Ball. So in the book, I describe how we were recording Thinking of You, and he took a phone call. I was just about to do my solo, and he made me wait like 20 minutes. And I went out of my mind. I went insane because I'm ready to do the solo. I'm like, Richard, he's like, wait a minute, on the phone with Barbra Streisand.
Yeah.
And then we ended up playing on the album, so I guess it all worked out.
Wow. So this is all before getting signed. You did demos before getting signed.
No. Oh no! How would they pay for those demos unless they knew that they'd be coming on royalties?
Oh, okay. So I get it.
We signed the contract like May '69, and we started in on demos like probably the day after.
Wow. See, that's the thing. That's the thing that people, especially the younger generations, they don't understand that concept anymore. That record companies used to actually develop the artist. They put the money to develop an artist that they saw potential in. Of course, they don't do that anymore, especially now. So that concept is so alien to a lot of people, younger people, because they're like, what? You made, it's like, no, I just didn't, I just said, it's like, oh, you were signed and they paid for the demos too. It's like, oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah,
they don't do that anymore.
It happens in a certain sequence, especially back in the day. So we signed, and the minute we started to do our demos, and when we were doing demos in studios that were still being built, for example, Crystal, which when it was finished, Stevie Wonder booked that studio for a year, okay? So we were working in a lot of really good studios in LA, and because we were working in some cases in studios that weren't even finished yet, we really learned how to manage being in a studio recording space. Like, you walk up to a mic and you have to hear certain things in your headphones if the track's already recorded, for example, or if it isn't, then there was only one headphone mix, so we would fight over the mix. Seriously, or let's say we were singing backups and the lead vocal was already sung. Now we had to learn how to blend 3 vocals to have a certain effect. And we had to create characters that were imbued with the sound that we were putting into the microphone. And we didn't just walk up to the mic and, sing parts. We had to deliver. We had to deliver certain things. And speaking of, you're actually basically talking about artist development. So Fanny, Ry Cooder, and Randy Newman were all signed to Reprise, and all of us, I know for a fact, because we kept running into each other at studios, we all recorded our first album twice because it was a new sound. I mean, Ry Cooder was completely new,
Yeah.
What a great guy, and what a great artist. We still have a lot of respect for each other. I mean, if we see each other down the block, it's like, oh my God, hi,
Yeah.
So incredible. So we sort of hit that little notch of time when you could still do that.
Yeah, that was like it's amazing when you think about it.
Yeah, it is.
Because even with myself, they were still doing that in the 90s. That okay, we'll pay for the demo and we'll see how it sounds. If all the things that you do. And
I think that whole thing is excruciating. I think it's unfair to the artist, but put you through all those changes. But that's how they develop a system.
Yeah. And how was it? So the third album was the one that got recorded in England, right? It was Fanny Hill. How did that happen? I mean, because this is your graduate. I mean, you're already recording in England. I mean, wow.
Well, Derek Taylor was our publicity guy in LA. He moved from London to LA for about a year, and our management grabbed him. And do you know who Derek Taylor is?
No, I don't.
Oh, I should look him up. He's like the 4th Beatle, 5th Beatle, sorry.
Oh, okay.
He was their publicity guy when they were starting out.
Oh, okay.
And so he knew them really well, and our management knew, there was a lot of kind of the, backslapping kind of deal. They knew us and they loved us. And I'm sure Derek had a big part in getting us to Apple because, once we were there, well, I mean, 2 things. By that time, Nelson Schmelson was a massive hit. So are you familiar with that album?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Lime in the Coconut? Harry Nilsson? Really?
Put the lime in the coconut. That you know that. Yeah, the song.
Do you know of Harry Nilsson?
Oh, Harry Nilsson. Yeah, I know the name. Yeah.
Okay. It was like massive. Well, Richard produced that album, okay?
Oh, wow.
We knew him in LA. And so for some reason, he was in England when we were recording Fanny Hill. So he dropped by every day. So Harry Nilsson was really a huge fan also of Fanny. In fact, the first day we got there, Harry was there. We went upstairs. We met Ringo and George together, and then we would go to Derek Taylor's house, and there were, excuse me, for Sunday dinner, and there would be Ringo and George,
Oh my God.
We were pretty connected in that way. And then we met, they were fighting then. So we met Paul at Air Studios, which was a studio that at the time, George Martin, the producer, had just built. So they were recording. Now listen to this. They were recording Carly Simon at Air. Okay. So dig what was happening. We're all sitting at the Portobello Hotel, Fanny and Carly Simon, and Mick Jagger's dropping by all the time. And Carly Simon is recording at Air. And Richard would always play me the basics, because he really trusted my opinion. So when I heard the basic of, he played me, like a whole album of basic. But when I heard the basic of You're So Vain, I said, Richard, this is your hit. And, I was right.
Oh,
but so...
Wait, wait, he was recording. Excuse me, she was recording Tapestry?
No, that's not Carly Simon. That's not Carly Simon. Tapestry is Carole King.
Oh, Carole King. I'm sorry.
So that was a hit before we. That was a hit before we. Yeah. So Carly Simon, You're So Vain. Okay. So,
You're So Vain. Yeah. Oh, she recorded that song.
And Nick was on that, and he'd be hanging out with us. The whole thing. So. It was kind of like a scene going on. They loved having the chicks around. And we met Paul and Linda over at Apple. Excuse me, not Apple, at Air. They couldn't be together because they were fighting,
Yeah.
So we actually met like pretty much everyone, except I didn't meet John Lennon until Imagine, because the aforementioned Earl Slick, Lee's dad and Gene's ex-husband, who's here right now, he played on Imagine. And I happened to be in New York doing something, and I got this call at a club, Jean Millington to the Red Phone, whatever. And it was Slick. And he said, I'm in a restaurant with John and Yoko on the band, and John wants to meet you. I'm like, okay. Well,
Oh my God.
so that's how I met John. He was kind of he was intrigued by me. He was kind of a fan, I walked into Mr. Chow's, and he was at the end of this, huge table of people, and he stood up and he mimicked playing guitar, and and I put my thumb up, and he went put his thumb up.
Oh my God.
So I was able to hang out in the studio and watch him do his them do their album as well. So I really got to see a lot of how music was made and how the business worked.
Yeah.
There's a lot of power, levers of power that are pulled. But, Slick played with both David Bowie and John Lennon. So there's a lot of, a lot of stuff. In fact, we were just talking about Bowie tonight. He dropped by the house, and we were, talking about the people he's played with and how much money they made and all this kind of stuff. But it basically boils down to, who do you like to play with?
Yeah.
It's not just the money. So I could ask him questions like, that lick on I'm Losing You. I'm losing you.
Yeah.
He said, no, it was John. It was in his rhythm guitar part and his acoustic guitar part. So that's really neat to know,
Oh, wow. It's blowing my mind. Yeah, John Lennon's here. He wants to meet you.
Yeah.
He wants to meet you.
That's
John
exactly
Lennon
right.
wants
And I'm
to
not
meet
making that
Jean
up.
Millington. My God. Now that alone is already hashtag Pinoy Pride. Come
All
on.
right, there you go. Let's do it.
You know what? No, you know why? And another thing, I forgot to mention this. The Philippines, we're so influenced by America. You know that. That's just given.
That's right.
So the one of the not dreams but goals of any Filipino musician is to make it in the States. It's always been like that, especially in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s. That's the thing. Well, of course, with any other band from any other country, if you make it in the States, you make it. So it's same in the Philippines. and it's always something that it's not. There was this band in the 80s called Rage. They were gonna go here and do the thing, but their singer was a girl, and she got pregnant. So you know how that goes. They didn't get their chance. In the 90s, we tried to do it, and then when we tried to do it, 9/11 happened. Psh, kaput. No more plans. But now, when I discovered Fanny, I'm like, why are we still trying to do it when Fanny did it already?
I asked you. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. I was like, it's there already. They did it. They're from the Philippines. They grew up in Manila. They went to the States, and they worked hard. They played their instruments really well. They played good songs, made great albums. They made it. Yeah. It's Fanny. Fanny is the Filipino band that made it, you know?
Yeah. Right. No doubt.
Yeah. So hashtag Pinoy Pride. You know, that's the one. That's what I'm talking about.
Do it. I'm going to start doing Pinoy Pride.
Yeah. And the more people know about it, because the Philippines there's just two kinds of music. It's either you listen to rock and roll or you don't. You know, there's rock and roll.
I have a piece of advice to any Filipino band who would like to try to make it in the U.S. Would you like to hear it?
Yes. Go.
Don't be so derivative. Don't be so derivative. They all sound like a remake of a hit that was already. So, you know, and I find that also with European bands, you know, young bands. It's like, why are you doing that? Develop your thing. See, I mean, for me, I learned that lesson when I decided to stop trying to learn every lick that Eric Clapton or whoever else, you know, played. I dropped all. So drop it and find your sound, find your voice, find your song. And if that song speaks to people, they will not be able to say no to it. It's just that simple. Reach into your heart, into their hearts, and it probably will happen to you. But bands aren't doing that. They're so scared, you know?
Yeah, they are scared, yeah.
Find your voice. Find your song. Find your backup vocals. You know?
Yeah.
It's really important. I mean, get off that derivative thing. And I know that's really hard to do. But as soon as I hear something and it's like, you know, I already heard that. I mean, that's basically what I'm saying in my body. I may not even be thinking that right away. But in my body, I'm thinking, that's nothing new.
Yeah.
You know? So, for example, let's talk about a song like, let's give him something to talk about. Let's give him something to talk about. And now she's got that slide guitar. Well, I mean, that's already different.
Yeah.
You know,
especially the time that song came out. Because no one was playing slide. No one was playing slide guitar during that time. Yeah.
I think you're wrong about that. I think you're wrong about the time. I think the song is so good. Or what is that other song that Bonnie had that was she didn't write? And it was a ballad. I can't help but love you, or I can't. What song was that?
I don't know.
If I could find the melody, you'd know right away. Oh yeah, that's a hit. Then it would be a hit now. You know.
No, what I mean is her slide playing. I mean, no one at that time when that song came out slide playing on a mainstream song, but she did it, and you know, it fit. You know.
Yeah, I mean, again, I will say that Bonnie's electric slide sound is Lowell's.
Is Lowell's, you know? Okay, yeah.
I mean, we have the same sound.
Right. Yeah.
It's her acoustic play, but I get what you're saying. Of course, I wouldn't want to take that away from her. But you know, if you listen to all of Bonnie's lead slide parts, they're all basically the same. They're from the blues.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what Slick does too.
Yeah.
You know, she wants to create something really good, and she does. You know, she's no slouch. Trust me.
Oh, no, yeah.
I've been to rehearsals. I've been to recording sessions. You know, she's serious about what she does. But essentially, she doesn't play very much because she doesn't actually know how. She's like me. I just had to pare everything down to like a certain sound. And, you know, I don't think I play that many notes, quite frankly, you know. but I play them with a certain bite and a certain conviction, and that's what Bonnie does. She doesn't actually play that much slide in her songs. She mostly sings. She's got the voice of John Raitt, who was her dad. He was incredible.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
It's just weird to me that you're talking about these people as contemporaries, because they are your contemporaries. They're your because they are. It's like freaking me out. It's like, oh my God.
Well,
It's like Lowell George and Bonnie Raitt and June Millington are friends who taught each.
I do want to mention though, I did start a podcast where I'm interviewing friends of mine who I think are really, really great. And I did interview Skunk. And I mean, I can send you the link, but if you just want to, June Millington, Skunk Backs are talking, and so I asked them about, and in all the years that we've known each other and adored each other, I never asked them this question. Did you think about the solo in Ricky Don't Lose That Number before you did it? And his answer was like one word, yes. And I said, how much did you think about it? He said, and he was really serious because he knows me, he said, I thought about it a lot. I said, like, how long? He's like, about a month.
Wow.
So he had a way to get in and he had a way to get out.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, to me, that solo is one of the best solos ever created. I mean, is there anybody else who can play that? Maybe. I don't know. I've never met him.
Yeah.
You'd have to be incredible to play that guitar solo. You'd have to understand his thought process, and then you'd have to deliver.
Yeah.
He was very serious with me. So I thought about it a long time. Now, for him to admit that, quite candidly, I think that's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the type of seriousness and what you put into something that creates art. And that's what we were doing. Ricky Don't Lose That Number is a total, complete work of art, I think. From the top, from the words and the piano licks and everything. I mean, I knew him and I was still blown away. And I never asked him that question. I was too shy. But it was the right time to ask him, So I'll send you the link.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So wait. So, okay, I got to fan out. I mean, how were the Beatles like?
Well, like I said, they were fighting at the time.
Okay.
So,
no, I mean, when you met, let's just focus on John. I mean, who wanted to meet you? What was that like?
I mean, he just loved having me around. I would go into the control room and Gene said, I can't believe how much John just talked to you. He doesn't talk to me that much,
Oh my God.
He was just so real, and he wasn't, he didn't need to be John. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He didn't need to be John Lennon. He just was who he was. And I'll give you an example. Like one time we're sitting in the studio and he just got hung up talking to me, right? So the band was practicing what I later understood was the song Watching the Wheels Go Round and Round. And it sounded unbelievably almost there's a phrase I use in the studio play, it's stupid simple. So they were playing it stupid simple, the song, the way it was, the way it deserved to be played. So he and I chatting for about 6 minutes or something. So they were on the second or third take of running it. All of a sudden he just turns to face them through the glass and he pushes down the talk back button. And this is exactly what he said. I know you can play, but play the song. Click and turn around and start to talk to me. And believe me, they just locked in because they knew what he was saying. It was just a little bit of showing off, but he didn't want to hear that.
Yeah. Just play the song.
And he didn't say the song. He said it that Liverpool song, play the song.
The song.
Yeah. I know you can play the song. And it was, the reason I loved it is that's the way I feel about it. Play the song. And that's why I say, find the song, play the song, and move people. Because he wrote so simply, I was doing live streams once a week, pretty much all last year through the pandemic. And we did I'm Losing You, one of the live streams with Slick, playing his guitar part.
Yeah.
And he told me how that whole solo was created. It's really an incredible story. I don't know, if he's ever told anybody else, but anyway, it's an incredible story.
Uh-huh.
But essentially, when I got into the lyrics of the song and the arrangement, I realized, they're so simple, really. It's how I still love I Want to Hold Your Hand. I love that arrangement. I was just thinking of it this morning,
Yeah.
And then it just goes, but that's a clever arrangement.
Yeah.
And so John had that all his life. And I just pass that along to anybody who wants to go to the heart of the matter. Find it. Find your heart. That's what John did. He was scared to death. He was scared to death of doing that album because he felt like he was he'd become superfluous or not important or whatever.
Oh, really?
And when they started that album, believe me, it was top secret. Nobody knew they were recording. Nobody knew they were. It was totally time. Nobody knew where they were staying, recording, blah blah, and so forth. So because he was frightened, he didn't want anybody to hear it ahead of time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he felt he was fading away at that time.
Well, what's the word? It's not fading away, but he just got irrelevant. He felt that maybe he had become irrelevant. But the fact is, he was not, because he was writing those simple songs that had that place that found you. See, these songs have to find you.
Yeah.
They go right into your heart. And then the second you hear, Woman, or, Watching the Wheels Go Round, or all the songs on that album that are his. I mean, I know he wrote songs with Yoko as well, but his are my favorite. He knew how to get to the, center of it all, just deliver. And that is the secret, people. If you can do that, you can be a star. You can be a star.
I think I think the same way about music, about musicians or even artists, creative people. It's like my thing. This is kind of deep, so just humor me. When the Big Bang happened, boom, everything was there with regards to anything artistic that comes out of a human being was already there. So let's say Stairway to Heaven, it's there already. It exists already, but it had to take Jimmy Page, Robert Plant, Bonham, and John Paul Jones, the four of them who were total strangers, to bring out those songs that they brought out. And same thing with any artist. Like it had to be the Millington sisters and the two other members of Fanny to bring out this music. It had to be a combination. If one of those people weren't there, it wouldn't have come out. So it's like it's already you. It's like what I tell younger musicians is that you just be open and wait for that thing to come, and then when it comes and you feel it, that's it. That's your sound. Because you're the antenna. These energies, these songs, these works of art, they're already up there in the atmosphere or whatever. And they're just waiting for a human being to receive that frequency and turn it into reality. That's how I think art is made, And I totally get it. He was probably so scared, but he had that feeling. It's like, I have this song, but I don't think people might like it, but I gotta do it. So I totally get it.
Plus, he had the money to assemble a great band. There's so many components that that go into all of that.
Wow. So what? So how did you, from the early 70s and then going into the mid and then music was changing? How did you see it? I mean, how did it feel? I mean, I'm asking this. I always ask this with people who are from that generation because I didn't experience it. I was too young to even know all this music existed.
What year were you born?
71.
Oh, okay. Well, I can tell you that I've always kind of followed my own drum.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did when I left Fanny in 73 was I moved to Peconic, Long Island, to a summer home in the winter because I didn't have much money. Listened to a lot of Stevie Wonder, and I took a sabbatical.
Okay.
And then I started studying Buddhism.
Mm.
And Elliot Randall was a friend of mine from back in the day from Fanny, and he lived in New York. Do you know who Elliot Randall is?
It sounds familiar, the name.
Oh my God, he played the solo on Reeling in the Years.
Oh.
So
Oh my God.
we had played with them at the Whiskey. Anyway, he was a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
And through him, I eventually ended up moving to Woodstock, New York, to play with Tim Moore in his band. So this is like a 2-year span, okay? I was learning Buddhism. I was taking my sabbatical, and I was actually doing that which I didn't know I was looking for, but I was searching to be an authentic human being, and I started down that path.
Mm-hmm.
I read Shunryu Suzuki's Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. That was I had read Buddhist stuff before that, but that was the first one that really, I was bowing to the trees and, all that kind of stuff. So by 75, it just so happened that Jean was visiting me in Woodstock. And it was winter and it was a huge storm. This is really weird. And nobody could go anywhere. We're sitting at the kitchen table and the phone rings. And it's a call from LA. She talks to him for a minute, then she puts down the phone. She says, "You know what?" Because I had just said to her, "Is Fanny finally over?" Which is, we did it was the Casablanca album, and we finally have really broken up. And then the phone rings.
Yeah.
Kind of weird,
Yeah.
And they say to her, "You know what? You have a hit. Even though Fanny isn't together anymore, you have a hit. You have to come back to LA so we can make some money." Okay, she goes to LA. About a week later, she calls me and she says, "June, really, I want you to play guitar on this tour." So that's how I ended up playing guitar on what I call Fanny Point 1. Okay.
Yeah.
That was the Casablanca album with Butterboy, but I played the tour because she wanted me to play it. Okay, so I went. And that's how I ended up being in LA. And through various circumstances, I ended up playing on Chris Williamson's Changer and the Change. I'm sure you don't know anything about her and this album, but that was the beginning of women's music, which was a seismic shift for the world. Women's music was a seismic shift. So I played on 2 songs on Changer and the Change, and then I went on her first tour. There were only 3 of us in 1976. I think we left in February or March. And I'm telling you, that changed my life. That's when I realized, I really did do the right thing, even though it was really hard to leave the band. That was what I was heading for. I mean, Jean and I and the other girls in Fanny Point 1 on that tour actually tried to get a record deal, and at the last second, me and Jean are in Beverly Hills at the lawyer's office, and the guys from Dick James Music look at me and say, "Well, we have just one thing we want." I mean, me and Jean's pens were poised over the place. "No, we just have one thing we want you to do. We want you to call yourselves Fanny." And I just stopped and I said, "What?" So since then, I knew I could never be in another band called Fanny. That's why the last album was called Fanny Walked the Earth. And that was in a conversation we had, when I said, "Yeah, I'll do an album, but it can't be called Fanny." And I was talking about, it's so important that Fanny walk the earth. And Bree looked at me, she said, "What did you just say?" So it kind of went on from there. So anyway, I turned Fanny down. I could, it's like I got my orders from above. You are not going to be in another band called Fanny. And so that closed that door, which was hard to do, because we had really great material. And I went on the road with Chris in women's music. And that started me. I mean, I was there in the thick of it, and the seismic shift of feminism and music. It was incredible.
Wow.
I mean, you may not know this, but who's a woman who did Fast Car? You Got a Fast Car.
Tracy Chapman. Yeah.
She came out of women's music, dude. And people
wow.
don't know that because she never talks.
Yeah.
There are so many powerful women and songs that have come through women's music. So I was involved in women's music a lot from, let's say, 76 on. And Gene and I actually also did an album called Ladies on the Stage, and that's a whole other subject which maybe we should talk about another time, but there are great songs on that album.
Wow.
Some of them
So
were
wait,
written.
women's music was what, a musical project, a compilation, or I don't understand.
No, you're totally missing it. You're totally women's music. The simplest way I can put it is that it was a seismic shift.
Okay.
Of the whole world. It was
the whole world.
People
Okay.
may not have even known it, but women's music, the way that it married feminism, spirituality, and music changed so much. It was a separatist movement, so no guys were involved. And that changed like within a couple of years. But so many amazing groups and singers in there. I know you've never heard of Sweet Honey in the Rock. And I mean, Michelle and Decacello was playing in women's music. You know, I mean, there was so much happening in women's music. It was essentially how I broke it down to myself to kind of figure out what was going on. Was I finally figured out, like, 6 months to a year, I realized, so all these women who were killed and brutalized and burned and murdered and men too, through time immemorial, there was like a hole that opened up in the sky. I kid you not. It was a vortex. And all these souls came pouring through. And they were at the concerts I was playing at with Chris. And they were buying the records by the hundreds of thousands. And nobody knew except us. I mean, us who knew. We knew. It was like a secret handshake. And it was really a big deal, and it was really special, and it changed the world. I'm telling you, seriously. This is all going to be in my second book, by the way.
Oh, cool.
I'm writing now.
Oh my gosh! What? Okay, so
that's what led to IMA. See, Ann and I started IMA, and basically we started to talk about it in 85, 86, and Angela Davis was on the founding board. You may not even know who Angela Davis is.
I know who Angela Davis, man. Oh my God.
Okay, well, she was on the founding board. She knew what I was talking about.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So we were marrying real revolution. I mean, talk about me too. We were marrying super real revolution with this thing called women's music, which was an incredibly powerful force. We knew how important it was, and we started IMA basically in 86. And then we moved here to, first we were in Bodega, California, and we grew slowly, but we had finally got this place, and we had shows every week, and we had, it was a big deal what we were doing, but we were doing it very quietly so that it could grow. Because, like the Smelts, people didn't really want to hear about it. Women, you're going to be blah, 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 blah. You should watch Ann's, TED Talk. I mean, we both have TED Talks. So hers is called Leading from the Kitchen.
Okay.
And it's about how she realized that everything was happening, basically all the ideas and the camaraderie and the community was starting in the kitchen, which is how it's been done. If it starts in the kitchen, it's going to stay. I mean, people were eating food and cooking food together at our place in Bodega. It's really a big deal, and it's more than I can tell you about here. But we finally moved here to Goshen in 2001, and by that time, enough of IMA had been actually, founded, and the groundwork had been laid. So, if a big wind came, it was not going to, blow your house down kind of. And that was very intentional, because I had seen so many places, clubs and women's bookstores and the women's big ideas and women's record companies and all that. I watched all that. I was involved, but I wasn't trying to, make a big statement myself. I was supporting like these great artists. And I know you've never heard of Holly Near or Mary Watkins, blah, blah, but I also produced their albums. So there was a lot of stuff that went on. And, by 87, we had our 501c3. By 2001, we moved here. We owned this property. So by 2002, we could start our rock and roll girls camps because we owned the property. And now we have a barn that is a performance space because of our rock and roll, recording camps. And we have 2 recording studios in the barn.
Wow.
No, it's a big deal. It's never been done, and it's being passed on to the next generation.
Yeah.
And they're going to pass it on. Yeah. I mean,
So
when
what-
the girls found out that I'm going through these treatments, boy, I started to get the email. No. They don't want me to go yet.
Right. So what is it? Is it a musician development center, or what?
See, you're
what is
missing it. You're missing it, dude. You're missing it.
Okay.
It is a non-profit organization that supports women and girls in music in whatever way we can.
Wow.
So when we started, we had no money.
Okay.
So we would play little clubs and raise a little bit of money. And when we do little workshops, maybe at a recording studio or somebody gave us some time. So we would teach about management and, everything that you need to know as an artist. Think about yourself when you were 15. What did you need to find out? But we're
Right.
doing it specifically for women and girls because they need information. Guys can talk to each other. Girls, it's still really hard. So we have a safe place where they can learn this stuff and borrow equipment and get to camp and learn how to write a song and have a mentor. A mentor program. That hasn't happened before. So we created it out of the need of real people.
Yeah, that's where you find those diamonds,
Yeah, that's right.
You gotta give them a place to shine,
Well, we give them a place to not be crushed. That's number one.
Yeah,
because,
yeah.
People
That's-
would like to crush most girls. People would like to touch girls. People would like to do things to girls. And they know that
Yeah.
they and their parents know that when they come here, they are completely safe. And that is really important. They know they have a safe place and they can talk about anything. They can.
I got you. Yeah,
they
got you.
can't just do anything that they
Right.
want. But,
Yeah. It's a safe
place.
space. Yeah, it's a safe place for girls to learn all of this stuff. Yeah.
This is
And now
not
I
just
get
for
it.
girls, for adults too as well. But
Right.
so our 501c3 statement says is to support women and girls in music in any way we can. That's a big statement, and a lot of people disagree that we could even make it happen. But you know what? If you set your mind to it and you stick with the goal,
Yeah.
we proved it with the Svelts, we proved it with Fanny, we proved it with women's music, and now we're doing it with Me Too and IMA, and
Yeah.
Greta Thunberg and all that. I mean, it's really
Oh,
important. Your guns
Well,
and you keep saying the truth.
She's such a badass, right?
She is who she is, and she's telling
Yeah.
the truth. I mean, I think she's badass. A lot of people think she's like an ugly creep. It doesn't sort of matter, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. She's doing her. She's doing
What
her.
she's doing,
Yeah.
and it's making a difference. That's the main thing.
Yeah. All right. So let's tell everybody what's coming up. All of these movies, these plays. Let's go through them one by one. So we
Well, if you would go to ima.org, then you go to the
ima.org.
Institute for the Musical Arts website. And I would like to mention Jean's stroke fundraising side. I mean, you do know she had a stroke, right?
Right. Yes.
3 years
How's she
ago.
doing?
And she's doing better, but it's not going fast enough for her because she wants to pick
Yeah.
up the bass, man.
I
So
know.
anyway, her site is www.gofundme.com. That's easy to remember. /Jean-Millington-Go. That's the part
Okay.
you remember. GoFundMe.com/Jean-Millington-Go. And so we have the movie Fanny, The Right to Rock. So that's really important.
When's that coming out?
Well, like I said, like May, June,
Yeah.
starting this summer. Yeah. I can't give you an exact date because they'll get mad at me. They've
Yeah,
already
no,
gotten
yeah.
mad at me if I talk too much about it, but it is happening.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have the musical, which got delayed because of the pandemic. So I bet you they'll start putting that together next year. And then we have the script. What they do is they buy the rights for my book. And so the script that they're going to write, I know that this is happening because they bought the rights to my book. And so there is a script being written in Hollywood, blah, 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 rucka. We'll see if it happens. They just bought their second option. So let's see. And, there's an album that I'm going to be putting out, and I'm not sure what it's going to be called, but I'm definitely doing that. And then I'm also turning Land of a Thousand Bridges, which you can only get at imay.org. If you go to the help section, there's a pop down tab. You go to merchandise, and there you find my book. I'm turning that into an audio book as well. So that's quite a bit.
It's quite a bit. My gosh. it's quite a bit. And my God, I can't wait. I can't wait for more people to know about you and your sister and your accomplishments, especially the Filipino community, because
man.
Because you did it. It's a fact. You did it. It's part of history. So Filipinos need to know.
Yeah, Pinoy Pride, people. Let's do it.
Yeah, hashtag Pinoy Pride. Right. Okay, Miss June Millington, thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it. I am your newest fan. So thank you.
Maybe we can talk on the other side of all this stuff coming out.
Oh yeah.
I forgot to say the Smithsonian is doing a 60-foot, I think a 60-foot high display of me next year. They're going to have all these artifacts and, from Svelts and Fanny and everything. So the Smithsonian is getting into the game.
Wow. What, like a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame kind of thing?
No, June Millington. It's not a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Wow, June Millington.
Think of the Smithsonian, and you walk in and you see the June Millington thing.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's next year. So, that's going to be after all this that I'm talking about.
See, I mean, all your hard work is paying off. Even though
man, I'm a legend.
Yeah, you are. You are. Yeah. I have to say, you are. Not recognized enough, but you are.
We're going to change that.
Yeah. If people like David Bowie write about you and John Lennon wants to meet you, yeah. I mean, of course, those are all the superficial things. But you are a great musician. You're in a great band. Your sister's a great bass player. You're great singers. My gosh, the voices that come out of your music is just awesome.
Well, Filipinas or Filipinos, we got that musical thing that I know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So it's been fun talking, and like I said, maybe we can do this on the other side of everything that's coming up.
Yeah, for sure. We gotta hook up, and I want to jam with you sometime.
You and so many other people in the world. Maybe we can all jam together at the same time,
Oh my God. People are just waiting to jam. All the musicians are like,
that's their wish.
Yeah. All right. WDRS Talk with the great June Millington of Fanny. Thank you very much. Maraming salamat. You're an inspiration and a great musician, and I really appreciate the time that you've given me. Thank you.
Walang anuman.
Hey, thank you. Bye.
Okay, ciao.
Ciao. Take care, Miss June. Take care with your treatments, okay?
Absolutely.
More power to you.
You too.
Okay. Goodbye.
Bye.